From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News. I'm Mitch Casada. Thanks for joining us. Our Cronkite News staff works in several beat teams to bring top stories to all Arizonans, but we have an important commitment to covering issues related to the controversies, communities, and cultures of our border region. Tonight, a collection of reports from our Borderlands beat.
Border security is a big issue on the presidential campaign trail. But as Cronkite News reporter Fan Wang reports, ranchers on the Arizona border say they've been left out of the debate and forgotten by Washington lawmakers.
Cochise County shares 83 miles of border with Mexico. The smuggling routes in this region cut right through Ed Asher's ranch.
These are all guys, see, this is dope.
His ranch is 20 miles north of the border. A year ago, he set up a camera to capture images of what he faces every day.
Now it's outlaws. It's dope and outlaws.
While the number of undocumented workers crossing the Arizona border has declined, this area remains a busy drug trafficking corridor. John Ladd's ranch is right on the border.
We've had 51 trucks through our ranch in the last 3.5 years full of marijuana, and a full-size pickup, and it hadn't been caught. And they're cutting the steel wall down in the daytime, and driving 3 miles to a highway. Now you tell me that we have a secure border.
Ranchers in Cochise County feel abandoned by Washington.
We don't care.
They were promised more security 5 years ago. That's when Susan Cran's husband was gunned down on their ranch about 25 miles from the border.
He called his brother on the phone and he said, "There's this illegal that looks like he's sick. Please call the Border Patrol." And that was the last we heard.
Rancher Robert Cran's murder remains unsolved. For the past 5 years, fellow ranchers have had numerous meetings with Washington lawmakers, including those from Arizona.
In the federal government, there is absolutely zero level of urgency.
And not just with border security, John Ladd would like to see some action on immigration reform, including an expanded guest worker program.
The first thing that has to happen is there has to be a legitimate work program for people to come legally.
The ranchers will have to cope with the consequences of no action by Washington. All three have their houses broken into, vehicles stolen.
We're always talking to each other. Where are you at? What are you going to do? And that's how we live.
Cattle with a helicopter.
Susan Kranz now lives with the memory of her murdered husband.
You're traumatized so emotionally and mentally and physically, you know, it takes, I don't think you ever get over it.
In Douglas, Fan Wang, Cronkite News.
The sheriff of Cochise County is getting an additional $265,000 for border security. The money comes from private donors who contributed to a fund to build additional border fencing in Arizona. State lawmakers decided to give the money to the sheriff instead.
We're nearing the one-year anniversary of the day when 43 students disappeared in Mexico. The case has sparked an international outcry. On Saturday, protesters will take to the streets on both sides of the border. Cronkite News reporter Katie Berry shows why.
Thousands throughout Mexico demand justice and answers, including this mother in mourning. Her son is among 43 students who disappeared a year ago in Guerrero after a protest led to a clash with police.
La desesperación y la indignación que se convierte en rabia.
Survivors like this student and families searching for missing loved ones are finding support on both sides of the border. Phoenix residents stage weekly protests outside the Mexican consulate.
What's happening in Mexico is really beyond belief. The Mexican government and the U.S. government should be held accountable.
Salvador Reza and other demonstrators will be at the consulate again this Saturday. They'll be marking the one-year anniversary on the exact date the students disappeared.
The Mexican government really has no heart. International uproar has to be even louder.
There will be similar protests across the U.S. as thousands in Mexico take to the streets in memory of those who are still missing. In Phoenix, Katie Berry, Cronkite News.
More than 100 people marched in Tucson to remember migrants who lost their lives crossing the border. Many died in the desert. The Pima County Medical Examiner's Office has struggled to identify their remains. As Cronkite News reporter Fan Wang reports, part of the problem is watching remains.
The annual pilgrimage in Tucson is a memorial for migrants who lost their lives in the Arizona desert.
Every cross that we carry that says desconocido or desconocida, it's an unknown identity, but they're full human beings.
Derechos Humanos has organized the pilgrimage for the past 15 years. The crosses represent 137 migrant lives lost this past year. The event coincides with Day of the Dead celebrations this time of the year.
We celebrate those lives, we bring them back to life.
And they ask those who perish in the desert to come back and leave their strength on earth.
And you can see that here on where some of the ribs are attached.
Since 2000, the Pima County Medical Examiner's Office has received about 2,400 remains of suspected border crossers.
It's more than any other single jurisdiction in the U.S.
The medical examiner determines the cause of death, but identifying the victims is more challenging.
That is essentially the nutshell of the problem that we have. It's not necessarily determining the cause and manner of death. That's relatively easy. It's figuring out who they are and then trying to get those remains back to family members.
The medical examiner's office has now been able to identify 35% of those remains. That's about 850 people. And there is not enough space to keep the remains indefinitely.
If it doesn't look like we're going to be able to identify someone in a timely manner, then we can't keep those remains here forever because we have storage issues.
The cases remain unsolved because the remains often cannot be matched to missing persons reports.
The families don't know where to begin, they don't have the resources to begin looking.
Human rights groups such as Derechos Humanos have stepped in to take phone calls from families searching for their missing loved ones. Their 24-hour hotline is hearing from about 100 families every month. Most of the calls are from Texas, followed by Arizona.
The 5-hour pilgrimage ends at a historic San Javier mission.
Death is part of now our alleged deterrence policies that doesn't deter anybody who's fleeing violence or hunger or seeking to be with their families.
People lay down the crosses, adding them to the more than 2,000 that represent migrants who lost their lives in Arizona during the past 15 years. In Tucson, Fan Wang, Cronkite News.
Immigration is a hot-button issue this presidential campaign season. Many candidates are talking about citizenship and using the controversial phrase, anchor baby. Cronkite News reporter Erica Lang is following the birthright controversy live in the Media Center. Erica?
Right now, anyone born on U.S. soil is an American citizen, but presidential candidates are definitely concerned that immigrant parents are taking advantage of that right. And that's not the way those being labeled as anchor babies necessarily see the issue.
Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby.
Using the term anchor babies yesterday on the radio?
No, I didn't.
I don't think it's offensive. I don't use it.
For ASU professor Carlos Vélez Ibanez, it's a teaching moment for students in his Intro to Transborder Studies class.
Excavate, you're right.
But his perspective is more than professional, it's personal. His family has ties on both sides of the border, and his mother gave birth to him in Arizona.
And she said that my feet were placed south and my head was always north. So if you want to call me an anchor, no longer baby, I guess I'm one of those too.
What does he think of the term?
Even the notion of anchor baby is ridiculous. People have been anchoring on both sides of the border for generations and generations and generations.
And the issue doesn't just involve parents who cross the border by foot. Many families come by plane from places such as China, India, and even Western Europe and give birth in the United States.
Première génération américaine de ma famille. Hi, I'm Anel, and I'm the first generation American in my family.
Anel Ganeas' family moved to the U.S. from France. She was born in Miami, where her father was working at the time. She says some people have referred to her as an anchor baby.
And I think I've heard that term before, but I never really paid attention to it.
She considers herself an American.
I do go to a university, I am in a sorority, you know, I think I've completely transitioned into the American lifestyle.
A lifestyle and a birthright for many children of immigrants born on U.S. soil.
A new report from the Congressional Hispanic Caucus shows that Latinos are making strides in employment and education, but have not been able to close the wage and employment gap with other groups in the country. Cronkite News reporter Adriana Barajas has the details from our Washington bureau.
The success of our country will in fact depend upon the success of that community.
That community is the Latino community, which continues to lag behind in many areas, including employment, income and wealth accumulation, and educational attainment, according to a report by the Congressional Hispanic Caucus.
So now we have these numbers that are in the report that show us very clearly where there are areas where we need to improve.
That's why Congresswoman Linda Sanchez and members of the caucus met at the Capitol to call on other leaders to promote legislation that will improve the economic well-being of the Latino community.
Well, the answer is simple. We need to support legislation that helps hardworking families. We need to support legislators that support policies that help working families.
According to the report, the typical Hispanic worker earns 72% of what a typical non-Hispanic white earns. Congressman Ruben Gallego agreed, saying the biggest issue facing Latinos right now is economic opportunity.
Being able to move up the economic ladder, being able to start at a job and continue to improve, earn more money, get a bigger house. I mean, all the things I think we believe the American dream is.
And that's exactly what Latinos lack, as Hispanics are twice as likely to live in poverty compared to non-Hispanic white households. But Gallego says making education more attainable for Latinos can improve their well-being.
We need to really refocus, making sure that we have good K-12 education, and we also have affordable college education for young men, whether they're Latinos or anybody.
In Washington, D.C., Adriana Barajas, Cronkite News.
The number of Hispanic entrepreneurs is on the rise, and women are leading the way in starting their own business. Cronkite News reporter Jennifer Souls introduces us to one of the young women building her own business.
According to a recent study done by the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, our state has about 89,000 Hispanic-owned businesses, and over half of those are owned by women.
For sure, let me know so that I can push that out, because that'll be big.
Carla Chavarria owns Phoenix-based YCM Marketing, a business born out of her love for art and storytelling.
I draw stuff, I'm just kidding. Anything that you see like on billboards, on magazine covers, posters, anything that you see is a lot of the stuff that we do.
The number of Latinas like Chavarria who've started a business has tripled in Arizona in the past 8 years. There are now 66,000 Latina-owned businesses.
There's a kind of, if you will, an analogy to be drawn between what's happening now with Hispanic-owned businesses that are owned by Hispanic women and the kind of Rosie the Riveter phenomena that happened in World War II.
Some credit immigrants for helping drive that economic growth.
And rather than saying, I have skills and nobody wants to hire me, they basically said, I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to find a way to contribute to this community and also pursue my own dreams.
Chavarria created her business out of necessity.
I'm a dreamer, so meaning like I didn't have the proper documents when I was here, so it was very hard for me to work.
So she went to work building her own company.
You just kind of have to do it and enjoy the process. I think that's the key of it, to enjoy it. You know, those late nights, early mornings. You have to learn how to love it and enjoy it, because otherwise you're not. It's gonna be the worst thing you do in your life.
And that's the kind of drive that has translated into success for thousands of Latina entrepreneurs in Arizona. Since starting her business in 2012, Chavarria has seen business do so well that YCM Marketing is currently moving to a bigger location. In the Broadcast Center, Jennifer Souls, Cronkite News.
Visitors from Mexico spend billions of dollars here in Arizona. Most have border crossing cards that only allow them to travel within a 75-mile zone that ends up in Tucson. Phoenix and other cities in the valley are pushing to expand the border zone statewide. Cronkite News reporter Katie Beery looks at the possible impact in Maricopa County.
The Outlets at Anthem is among the first to put up a Christmas tree. For retailers here, it's never too early to start shopping for the holidays. But on their wish list, an expanded border zone.
the impact would not just be limited down south across this area.
Right now, visitors from Mexico are limited to traveling in a 75-mile area that ends in Tucson, unless they get a special permit. The Maricopa Association of Governments wants that border zone expanded statewide.
It would send quite a message to our friends down south that Arizona is open for business.
And the mayor of Youngtown is among those rolling out the welcome mat.
They're largely affluent, middle-class Mexicans that want to come to our state and spend money. They're not the people that are trying to sneak across the border.
If the border zone is expanded, visitors from Mexico are expected to spend an additional $181 million in Arizona next year. The Outlets at Anthem wants its share of those shoppers.
We thrive on that. We love that we're a destination location for all of our tourists.
Employees at the Outlets of Anthem are gearing up for a huge Christmas season. This is actually the tallest Christmas tree in the country, believe it or not. By this time next year, the mall hopes more families will be able to go that extra mile for their holiday shopping. In Anthem, Katie Beery, Cronkite News.
The Maricopa Association of Governments will present a proposal to extend the border zone to the Department of Homeland Security in the spring. It's up to the federal government to decide whether to extend it or not.
A weaker Mexican peso is hurting border businesses on the U.S. side. Cronkite News reporter Fan Wang talks with shop managers and owners in Nogales, Arizona, who are trying to understand the pinch they are feeling.
In the small border town, Mexican shoppers translate into big sales. Usually.
With the peso devaluation, our sales are going down more and more.
Rebecca Castañeda has been working in this store for 20 years, and this year has been one of the worst. Sales have fallen by more than half. At this store, 99% of the customers are from Mexico.
I come here twice a week, but I used to buy more.
Aguel crosses the border to buy cheaper groceries and trinkets for his kids. He now spends about $20 per visit, versus as much as $100 before.
Store owners on Morley Avenue in Nogales say they're opening their shops late because business is slowing down.
Instead of 8 a.m., many shops now open at 10. And they're trying to attract Mexican shoppers with bargain prices.
We always have sales, and sometimes we even do sales like we'll accept the peso at a much better rate.
But even after cutting prices by as much as half, Castañeda has not yet seen improvement in sales.
We don't have any customers.
Now I'm waiting for my Christmas bonus. There's nothing else I can do.
The holiday bonus is mandatory in Mexico, and merchants hope the extra money will boost the sales. In Nogales, Fan Wang, Cronkite News.
The peso-dollar exchange rate is over 16 to 1. The peso has lost about 24% of its value in the last year.
More middle-class Americans coping with higher out-of-pocket medical costs are now heading to Mexico. Medical tourism is thriving in Nogales. Cronkite News reporter Erica Lang talked to some of those seeking savings south of the border.
I'm here in Nogales, Mexico, just a few steps from the border, where on this block alone, you have dentists, pharmacies, and other medical services that cater specifically to Americans. These musicians are playing a song about the scenic beauty of Sonora. But many Americans also cross the border looking for something else.
My dad told me I could get my teeth cleaned for 35 bucks.
And the savings quickly add up for major dental work.
You're going to spend 2,500 bucks in the States and you can do it for $800 here. You know, makes sense.
The cost of both private and public insurance has increased along with deductibles, and some services are not covered at all. It's especially difficult for retired Americans.
They have no insurance except Medicare, so they have no dental insurance, generally no eyeglass insurance. They have to go where they can afford it. And so if that means coming down here, that's where they go. Take care of yourself.
Americans also go to pharmacies in Mexico for low-cost prescription drugs. Cristian Juarez Romero sees it all the time.
Their insurance doesn't cover the medicine, so it's very expensive.
they prefer to come here and not spend as much.
Customers pay half price for some drugs in Mexico. And as medical costs continue to rise in the U.S., more Americans are expected to see Mexico as a solution.
Absolutely. Each year it increases the number of people that cross the border to get medical care.
The Reed family is among those who will continue to seek savings south of the border. In Nogales, Erica Lang, Cronkite News.
If you're heading to Mexico or any other foreign country for medical services, here are a few tips. Make sure to check for your doctor's medical credentials. Prepare in advance for any language barriers, and bring documents that are current and in order. Also, have an emergency contact and know your legal rights if something goes wrong.
Arizona Congressman Ruben Gallego is meeting with experts in the technology field and discussing how to get more Hispanics involved in the industry. Cronkite News reporter Adriana Barajas is in D.C. with the details.
Hispanics make up 17.5% of the population, but in the tech world, they account for only 4.5% of the workforce, which is why today the Congressional Hispanic Caucus met with leaders from the industry to discuss innovative ways to address this problem. Facebook executive Susan Gonzalez admits that there's a problem in the industry.
Being a Latina in technology, and frankly in any industry, sometimes can be a challenge because often we are the only one.
She says it needs to change for women as well as for minorities.
The numbers speak for themselves. This is not only an issue about women in tech, but also women in non-tech roles such as myself need to pursue opportunities in the tech industry.
Industry officials met with lawmakers to brainstorm ideas to address this problem.
What we need are suggestions. And so, we've had this conversation, for example, with CHCI. And so now we are taking that a step further.
At the Congressional Hispanic Conference today, Ruben Gallego said the solution has two elements.
What we need to do is really talk to these companies to make sure that they are hiring and interviewing Latinos.
But besides holding businesses accountable, he says government needs to make sure people are trained to hold these positions.
At the same time, we have to make sure that in the K-12 level that there is a more emphasis and investment in STEM, so that way we are producing that valuable workforce for the future.
Gonzalez looks forward to the future, but she says it's not going to be easy to get there.
The most important lesson that Latinas specifically can learn is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
The Catholic Church hopes that the Pope's visit will inspire more young people to return to the church. Many millennials are former Catholics who no longer identify with their parents' religion. Cronkite News reporter Genesis Mansurati shows us how parishes in Arizona are trying to change that.
These days, Catholic churches like St. Mary's Basilica are working to convince young people to come back to the Catholic Church.
I was baptized around middle school. It's around the time that everyone starts catechism. And that's when I told my mom I didn't want to be part of it or keep on with it.
Maria Lopez and others her age do not share the same traditional Catholic values as her parents.
I was born in America. My parents were born in Mexico, and here I'm a lot more open to learning about new religions, learning about new views and accepting those, and that has kind of made me shy away from thinking so culturally.
The Catholic Church hopes millennials will change their minds after the Pope's visit to the U.S.
I think he's really trying to be more inclusive than other religious leaders in general in the past, and he's just trying to make the faith more about accepting more people.
Brother Scott Statham is in charge of the young ministry at St. Mary's Basilica.
One of the things that we are trying to do is to recognize what is the day-to-day life of a young adult, a millennial, and what are the tasks associated with that transition in life.
With more millennials leaving their religion, Catholic churches like St. Mary's Basilica here in downtown Phoenix are looking for ways to attract the younger crowd. The church uses social media like Facebook to reach out to young people.
We haven't always done it very well in the past, but to say, we recognize you are a gift and you have talents and you have abilities that we really want you to share with our parish.
So if there was a little more of that in today's Catholicism, I think I'd be open to it.
More outreach might convince Lopez and others to join the church. In Phoenix, Genesis Monserrati, Cronkite News.
The number of Hispanics in the U.S. joining evangelical churches is growing. And as Fan Wang explains, here in Arizona, that means more churches are offering bilingual services.
And as long as he is being honored, mientras que él está...
Maurice Chavez is the pastor of a Pentecostal church in Phoenix. He, like many in his congregation, is a former Catholic.
I grew up in church all my life. My father was studying to be a priest in Waupaca, Wisconsin, when he converted to Christianity.
Over the past 10 years, the pastor has noticed more of those attending his church are Hispanic.
The majority of our church now is probably, I would probably say at least 2/3 of our congregation is Spanish speaking.
Many are immigrants from Mexico.
I get strength from my church and congregation, and I take that home.
These brothers and sisters love God, and I love God. It's my family. It's my family here.
This is one of the 225 Assemblies of God churches in Arizona. I have seen an increasing number of Hispanic faithful.
But a lot of them they were done with praying rituals and traditions that they were raised to see, and they wanted more of a God that was relational. Pentecostal churches, evangelical Hispanic churches really focus on developing community, fellowship, a family environment, which a lot of them look for.
Here is a lot of activities, a lot of ways that we could grow and improve.
Amen, amen, amen. Sí? Amen.
Phoenix World Outreach became a bilingual church last November. Around 500 people attend services here every week.
There you go.
Jarvis recently celebrated 30 years of preaching.
All right, now.
He hopes his church will continue to grow by appealing to those searching for a new spiritual home. In Phoenix, Fan Wang, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
8 is Arizona PBS, a service of Arizona State University.